The basket hit the ground first. Onions scattered across the dusty earth of Odukwa Market, rolling under wooden stalls and bare feet. A sharp cry followed, then silence. Heavy, choking silence, as a thick hand dragged Noma backward by the wrapper tied around her waist. "Did I ask you to shout?" Gbaramatu's voice cut through the air like a blade. Noma's knees scraped the ground. Her fingers clawed at nothing. "Please," she said, her voice breaking. "I borrowed money for those onions. Just today. Just this once." The slap came so fast the market did not have time to breathe. Noma fell sideways, her head striking the leg of a bench. A child screamed. Someone dropped a calabash. But no one moved toward her. Gbaramatu straightened slowly, chest rising, nostrils flared. He scanned the crowd, daring anyone at all, to meet his eyes. Heads bowed immediately. Women clutched children. Men stared at the ground as if something important had suddenly appeared there. "Next time," Gbaramatu said calmly, "bring meat. Onions don't fill my stomach." He bent, scooped a handful of onions back into Noma's basket, then kicked the rest aside and walked away. Only when his footsteps faded did the market remember how to breathe. Noma lay still, stunned, tasting blood. She heard whispers, felt hands lifting her gently, pulling her behind a stall. Someone pressed a cloth to her cheek. Someone else murmured prayers. All of it came too late, and everyone knew it. This was Odukwa, and this was how things had been for years. Every market day began with laughter, and every market day ended the same way, under the shadow of Gbaramatu. He had no stall, no trade, yet he ate better than most men who worked with their hands. He took meat without paying, yams without asking, palm wine without greeting. If a trader protested, he beat them. If they begged, he laughed. If they ran, he chased them until they learned to stop running. Once, long ago, two elders tried to stand up to him. He broke one man's walking stick and used it to flog the other. After that, the elders spoke wisdom instead of courage. "Life is more important than pride," they said. "Goods can return, blood cannot." Fear became the law of Odukwa. Children learned it early. When they misbehaved, other children whispered, "I will call Gbaramatu." When they cried, their mothers said, "Hush, do you want him to hear?" Even Gbaramatu's own children carried his shadow. They took toys by force. They shoved smaller boys aside. No one corrected them, because who corrected the son of fear? At the far edge of the market, almost swallowed by noise and movement, sat Sefu. His stall was nothing more than a wooden table with old radios stacked like sleeping babies. Wires hung loosely, screwdrivers lay neatly arranged. He rarely looked up unless someone spoke directly to him. Most days, no one did. People called him that thin one. Some called him Radio Ghost. Children mocked the way his shoulders sloped, the way his clothes always seemed too big. Men pitied him, women forgot him. Sefu did not complain. He fixed radios. He listened. That day, after Gbaramatu left, Sefu watched as Noma was helped to her feet. He saw the way she shook, the way her eyes darted to the path where Gbaramatu had disappeared. He packed his tools quietly and followed. Behind a stall, he knelt and cleaned her wound with water from his flask. Noma winced. "Thank you," she whispered without looking at him. Sefu nodded. He did not say what burned inside his chest. He did not say what he had been counting for months. Market days passed, and Gbaramatu grew worse. He began arriving earlier, staying longer. He took more, beat harder. He laughed louder. Each act fed the next, until fear itself seemed to announce him before his footsteps did. Then came the day everything cracked. It started like every other market day, until Gbaramatu stopped in front of Noma's stall again. "You," he said, pointing. "You still owe me respect." Noma froze. Her hands trembled over her onions. "I paid," she said quietly. "I paid what you took." Gbaramatu smiled. "Then pay again." He reached for her basket. A voice spoke from behind him. "That is enough." The market gasped as one. Gbaramatu turned slowly. Sefu stood there, thin arms hanging by his sides, eyes steady. For a heartbeat, no one understood what was happening. Then laughter erupted. Nervous, shocked laughter. "This one?" someone whispered. "This stick man?" Gbaramatu laughed too, a deep booming sound. "Did you drink bad palm wine this morning?" Sefu did not answer. "Go back to your radios," Gbaramatu said, stepping closer. "Before I fold you like dry leaves." Sefu met his gaze. "You will not touch her again." Silence slammed into the market. Gbaramatu's smile vanished. His fist came forward. The next moments happened too fast for fear to keep up. Sefu moved. He did not swing wildly. He did not shout. He stepped inside the punch, twisted, and struck Gbaramatu's ribs with sharp precision. Gbaramatu grunted, staggered. Another blow followed, then another. The giant stumbled. Someone screamed. Dust rose. Gbaramatu fell. The sound of his body hitting the ground shook the market more than any slap ever had. No one spoke. No one breathed. Sefu stood over him, chest rising slowly. "This," he said calmly, "is the beginning." He turned and walked away. Fear lay on the ground, staring at the sky. That night Odukwa did not sleep. Whispers crawled from house to house. Doors opened and closed softly. People replayed the moment again and again, afraid it might disappear if they blinked. Gbaramatu sat alone, pressing a cloth to his ribs. His children watched him from the corner, confused. They had never seen him lose. He said nothing. At the edge of the village, Sefu cleaned his tools and lay down quietly. Tomorrow was another market day, and fear had learned it could bleed. The sun rose late over Odukwa, or so it felt. People came to the market slowly that morning, eyes scanning corners, ears sharp. No one said it out loud, but everyone was waiting to see which version of the world would appear. Yesterday's impossible moment, or the old, familiar fear. Noma arrived early. Her cheek was still swollen. She kept touching it as if to remind herself it was real. When she spread her onions, her hands shook. "He will come," a woman whispered beside her. "Yes," another replied, "but so will the thin one." That word spread faster than drums. Sefu came as he always did, carrying his wooden table, arranging his radios carefully. He did not look around for approval. He did not greet the crowd louder than usual, but people watched him the way they watched the sky before a storm. Then the footsteps came. Not slow this time, fast, heavy, angry. Gbaramatu entered the market like fire chasing wind. His eyes were red. His jaw clenched so tight his teeth creaked. He did not look at the traders. He looked straight at Sefu. "So," he said, voice low and dangerous, "you think yesterday was a joke?" Sefu looked up from a radio he was fixing. "I think yesterday was late." Laughter escaped someone's mouth before they could stop it. A sharp, terrified sound. Gbaramatu turned toward it, but the crowd shrank back as one. No single face stood alone anymore. He stepped closer to Sefu. "I could end you now." Sefu rose slowly. "You could try." The market exploded into movement as people scrambled to make space. Children were pulled back. Stalls shifted. Dust rose again. "This time," Gbaramatu growled, "I will not fall." He charged. His first swing was wild, pure rage, no thought. Sefu dodged, feeling the air rush past his ear. He countered with a sharp blow to the shoulder. Gbaramatu roared and swung again, harder, faster. This fight was different. Gbaramatu learned. He blocked. He grabbed. He landed a blow that sent Sefu skidding backward into a bench. Gasps erupted. "Finish him," someone shouted without realizing they meant the opposite. Sefu wiped blood from his lip and smiled faintly. "Good," he said. "You are finally awake." That angered Gbaramatu more than any insult. He rushed again, but fatigue slowed him. Sefu moved like water, never wasting, never rushing. Each strike landed where it mattered: breath, balance, pride. Minutes stretched, then it ended. Gbaramatu fell again, harder, slower. This time he stayed down. The market did not cheer. They watched. Sefu stepped back. "Stand up," he said. "Tomorrow is waiting." He turned away. Gbaramatu did not rise for a long time. That evening, fear did not sit at the center of Odukwa. Confusion did. Men gathered in whispers. "What if Gbaramatu comes with a knife next time?" Women spoke softly but firmly. "What if we stop hiding?" Children reenacted the fight with sticks and laughter. At Gbaramatu's house, silence pressed heavier than blows. His eldest son finally spoke. "Father, did you lose?" Gbaramatu slapped the floor instead of answering. The next market day, courage arrived before fear. When Gbaramatu appeared, fewer heads bowed. When he walked toward a stall, the trader did not step back immediately. "You want meat?" the butcher asked, voice shaking but loud. "Pay." Gbaramatu raised his hand. Sefu was already standing. The hand dropped. Anger twisted Gbaramatu's face. "You think you own this place now?" "No," Sefu said. "No one does." They fought again, and again, and again. Each time Gbaramatu lost something, not always the fight, but always himself. His breath shortened, his steps slowed, his voice cracked when he shouted. The village changed between those fights. Women began speaking back. Men stood closer together. Children stopped flinching. Fear was no longer fed daily. One afternoon, Gbaramatu grabbed a young boy who refused to drop a mango. "Put him down," 3 men said at once. Gbaramatu looked at them, stunned. Sefu didn't move. He didn't need to. The boy was released. That night, Gbaramatu sat alone in the square, staring at the ground where he had once ruled. The earth looked the same. He did not. By the 5th confrontation, his body bore marks he could not hide. By the 6th, his voice lacked thunder. By the 7th, people no longer ran when he approached. They waited. That was when he understood. Fear had left him, and it had not asked permission. The final fight did not happen in the market. It happened in the open square, under the sun, with the whole village watching. Gbaramatu stepped forward, shoulders slumped, fists clenched more out of habit than strength. "If I fall," he said hoarsely, "I fall in front of everyone." Sefu nodded. "That is how lessons last." Gbaramatu charged one last time. He missed, he stumbled, he fell, not from a strike, but from exhaustion and shame. Dust rose. Silence followed. Gbaramatu stayed on his knees, and then the sound no one expected broke the air. He cried, not loudly, not dramatically. The sound of a man emptied. "I am tired," he said. "I am tired of fighting everyone." Sefu looked at the crowd. "Remember this," he said. "It was never about strength." He turned back to Gbaramatu. "Stand up and begin again, properly." The village held its breath, and something older than fear listened. Gbaramatu stayed on his knees long after the dust settled. No one rushed him. No one mocked him. The market that once trembled at the sound of his footsteps now watched him the way one watches a fallen tree, silent, unsure, waiting to see if it would rise again. Sefu stood a few steps away, breathing evenly. His knuckles ached. His ribs burned, but his eyes were clear. "Look at them," Sefu said quietly. Gbaramatu lifted his head. Faces met his gaze for the first time in years. Not fear, not worship, just people. "You ruled because we allowed it," Sefu continued, "and you fell because we stopped." Gbaramatu swallowed hard. His voice came out rough. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," Sefu replied. "But they want something." He stepped aside. Noma walked forward slowly. The crowd parted for her. Her cheek had healed, but the memory had not. She stood in front of the man who had once made her feel smaller than dust. Gbaramatu bowed his head. "I took what fed your children," he said. "I took your dignity. I was wrong." The words sounded strange in his mouth. "I am sorry." Noma said nothing at first. Her hands clenched and unclenched. Then she nodded once. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement. "I want my money," she said simply, "and my peace." "You will have both," Gbaramatu replied. That day did not end in celebration. It ended in work. Gbaramatu walked the market stall by stall, counting debts out loud. Meat sellers, yam traders, palm wine women, names he had ignored for years. He paid what he could immediately. What he could not, he promised, and this time no one doubted him. His children stood behind him, silent. When one boy tried to puff his chest, Gbaramatu placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "Watch," he said, "and learn." The next weeks were harder than the fights. Mockery replaced fear. Whispers followed him. Laughter sometimes cut deeper than fists, but Gbaramatu endured it. When anger rose, he clenched his hands and remembered the ground beneath his knees. Sefu returned to his radio stall. People greeted him differently now. Some bowed their heads. Some brought gifts. He refused most of them. "Fix my radio," he said when pressed. "That is enough." Life in Odukwa changed quietly. Women argued prices without fear. Men settled disputes with words. Children played games in the open square again, shouting and running freely. One evening the elders visited Sefu. "You should lead," one said. Sefu shook his head. "Fear followed one man before. Let us not replace it with pride." They nodded, ashamed and relieved. Months later, during a festival, Sefu was asked to dance. He refused at first, then laughed and joined. The village laughed with him, not at him. That was how Odukwa healed. Not loudly, but fully. When Sefu married Dada, a widow with a sharp tongue and kind eyes, the whole village came. Even Gbaramatu stood at the edge, clapping slowly, respectfully. Sefu met his eyes once and nodded. The past stayed where it belonged. Years later, elders told the story to children sitting by firelight. They did not speak first of Gbaramatu's fists. They spoke of the day fear learned it could be challenged, and they ended the tale the same way every time. The loudest man is not the strongest, and silence is only dangerous when it hides courage. If this story moved you, stirred something in you, or reminded you that courage can come from unexpected places, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more powerful African folktales that teach, challenge, and inspire. Stay with us, because the next story may speak directly to you.